Hey guys, back with another video. In this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about creating some dynamic mixes. We're gonna achieve this by focusing on our hi-hats. You can see on the canvas here, I have a number of hi-hats and shakers, notably the white colored clips. Let me give you guys a few tips. So 3 tips with this video. All right, let's start off by listening to the track and then we can deep dive into the tips. You get the picture. So we're doing some lo-fi stuff, but it is applicable to many styles of music, especially if you're doing this sort of urban lo-fi, chill synth, chill wave offshoot type of thing. All right, so let's pay attention to the hi-hats here. This is what I have going on the white colored clip here, labeled hi-hats. Obviously a loop that I've spliced up. All right, so offering a little bit of syncopation, and we have some percussive hits in the loop. Also, we have a shaker here. All right, so they're both playing at the same time, and one of the things I like to do, instead of having this side chain to the kick, which is what most people do, and I do it as well, I also like to have one of these guys side chaining the other. So if we take a look at the shaker here, I have a compressor. The side chain input is actually the hi-hats here. So this guy is going to be side chaining this guy here. So I find it allows this sort of pumping, breathing back and forth. You'll see what I mean. So let me engage both of these guys. Let me disable the compressor on the shaker track, and let's listen in. All right, so it's super subtle. Let me activate it now. All right, so whenever the hi-hats start playing, the shaker track dips down in volume thanks to this compressor, and once it's done playing, well, the volume rises, sort of all organically, and it makes it sound a whole lot more dynamic, a whole lot more interesting. All right, I'll do some A-beam one last time, and I'll move on to another tip. Now, all right, and if I were to disable this hi-hat, if you want to really hear what's going on with the shaker, this is what's going on. All right, so you can hear that despite the hi-hats being muted, you can still hear that side chaining pumping going on. All right, so that organic volume shift sounds really nice with this style of music. I want to move on to another tip here. You'll notice a track labeled HH Dust. This is something I've been doing since 2012. Yes, I am that old, but nonetheless, let's take a look at what's going on here. So I've attached a vocoder to this particular track, and what I have is the input set to the hi-hat. So this is my hi-hat track. We've already discussed this. I create an audio track and I set the input to be the hi-hat track. This is what's being heard. And without the vocoder, without the auto pan, and without the EQ, it sounds like this. All right, which is basically this track here. But when I add the vocoder, this is what I have, which is really this track. All right, so let's take this up a notch. Let's add an auto pan. Let me engage it. So now we have some movement. All right, so very important to add a little bit of movement in your tracks. Some of you have sent me your tracks. I love them. Y'all are doing such an amazing job, and I really appreciate listening to your tracks. One little thing I can recommend is adding a little bit of movement. This is one way I like to do it. All right, just slap on any old auto pan. Doesn't matter what DAW you're using. You can achieve this using a number of plugins. You can even do it manually. through automation, of course. And finally, I have an EQ here just to sort of roll off the top and the higher frequencies here. As it relates to the vocoder, if you guys are interested in checking out these settings, if you are an Ableton user, you can always jot down these settings. I have this set to 32 bands, and so it covers a wider range of the frequency spectrum. All right, so let me do some A-Bing just to show you what this HH dust is contributing to the overall mix. Let me highlight all of these drums. In fact, let me just disable this guy or lower the volume of the HH dust for the first pass, and then I will boost up the volume. Okay, so drums only. Now with the HH dust. And with the other instruments. All right, I'll show you guys a third and final tip here. Very simple. You guys already do this kind of stuff anyways, but I thought I would make mention of it. If you notice, I have some soft little fades here. These are really important. I find that sometimes when you have these hi-hat loops, especially when you are compressing them, they tend to get a little harsh, especially the transient. So I apply these slight little fades instead of that click. All right, so this is really important when it comes to treating your samples, especially the end of a sample, like here. Sometimes you get that that click sound. So what you want to do is just come in here and add a slight fade. You can see I've done that for a number of these tracks here. All right. So hopefully you guys can follow along irregardless of the DAW. If you are interested in applying this technique, I'm pretty sure most DAWs come with some kind of vocoder. You can always find some online either way. I do have a bunch of courses and walkthroughs where I cover these types of techniques, things that we don't necessarily cover in most of the start to finish. If you guys are interested in this kind of thing that you can really apply to your production, irregardless of the genre you are producing, and also irregardless of the DAW you're using, I urge you to check them out. Anyways, with that said, guys, that's it for this tutorial. If you found this useful, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, give me a like, and hit that bell notification button, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.